we moved to Sydney from Perth in 1973, and my parents bought a house up the top of Oxford Street, or just off it, in Jersey Road, Woollahra, the boundary of Paddington, Woollahra. So, you know, from then I was on Oxford Street every day. You know, I don't think, like the gay strip sort of version of Oxford Street, even further down, down where, you know, Fonzie's eventually opened up. I guess, you know, that was a world that I never had much to do with at the height of it, except for Exile's Bookshop, which was at Taylor Square, which opened up somewhere there at the end of the 70s. Came back over to Oxford Street to try to earn some money. I was in first year university, and you know, I was in this pretty difficult kind of I suppose I was living in a threesome. What I've now learned, I've learned these people in the language of the polyamorous. It's called a V. I was living in a V, and wanted to get out of it, and needed to earn some money. So what turned up was Fonzie's. So I lasted there for a while. That was my Oxford Street. I left Sydney to go to London and do my PhD in 1983. So I guess it would have been just in the early 80s that I started to hang around there. But it wasn't really till I came back that I came back from London. I only decided, I I was a lesbian when I lived in England. And so when I came back to Sydney in 1990 was, with the intention of, forming some primary relationship with a woman, which I did. And so it was only from then really that I was in Sydney, part of, felt myself to be kind of properly part of a gay community. When I left there and came back to Sydney, I got a job at Sydney Uni, was that I was coming back to Sydney as a gay place, a gay sort of magnet, and that I would be really sort of happy to be in it in a more connected way, more connected to that, and that proved to be the case. But again, so my relation to all of, to sort of the gay scene, such as it was, my relation was always, through the kind of academic lens, academia, feminist theory, emerging queer theory. So, I had a very sort of, I never had a sort of clubbing life or anything. That was just not my thing. I guess, gay men I knew had that life and would tell me about it, and a cruising life and everything, but it was just like stories I heard. So I was interested, to hear it all and hear what was going on, but it was really not much to do with. It was something to do with my sense of Sydney, but not a lot, I guess, to do with my direct experience. So my direct experience of sort of queer scene was really a kind of intellectual, which was very exciting. Liz Gross was teaching at Sydney Uni still, and there was lots of. Sydney was a good. Australia in general was a good theory place. And that, to me, it was all sort of mixed up together, the excitement of theory and kind of progressive politics and sexual politics. That was all sort of part of the same nexus. So, mine wasn't the kind of, the Oxford Street life. But I liked the fact that it was there. And I guess I mainly lived... I lived in the Cross still when I came back, and then quite a bit later moved here to Surrey Hills, but always around the inner east. And I guess the sense of it as a kind of gay place, sort of a gay district, was always part of its, a big part of its appeal. The lower part of Oxford Street I've become fonder of as, the rest of the inner east gets, ever more fancy. And it's stayed kind of stubbornly, almost ungentrifiable. So in one sense it's kind of pretty crap, and there's nothing sort of fantastic on it, just the kind of grunginess of it I like and associate with an earlier Sydney, and a kind of inner Sydney that is hard to find anymore.